Welcome to the Explainer. All right, today we're going to talk about that little piece of plastic in your wallet, your credit card. I mean, it seems so simple, right? But behind every single swipe, there's this incredibly complex system at play. And you know what? That's exactly how it's designed to feel. I mean, you get that instant rush when you buy something, plus you're promised all these cool rewards down the line. It's a really powerful psychological hook. It almost feels less like you're spending money and more like the bank is giving you a little gift. And yeah, the banks throw this amazing menu of perks at you, right? Cashback, free flights, hotel stays. I mean, who doesn't want that? It makes you want to spend. But here's the big question. If it all feels like a free gift, how on earth is the system still winning? Okay, so let's pull back that curtain. The way this whole thing makes money, well, it starts with a few really clever and honestly often misunderstood financial traps. They're built to take advantage of that very feeling of easy, effortless spending. So let's start with the absolute basics. It really comes down to one question. Whose money are you spending? With a debit card, it's simple. It's your money, straight out of your account. But a credit card? That's different. That's a loan. You're borrowing money from a bank. And that little shift? It's everything. Because now, you're not just managing your cash, you're managing debt. And this right here, this might be the most brilliant and dangerous trap in the whole system. That minimum payment on your bill, it's basically a psychological trick. It gives you this easy, low-cost way to feel like you're on top of your bills. But it's an illusion. Because when you pay just the minimum, the rest of your balance, that huge chunk, just rolls over and starts collecting interest at, crazy high rates, often over 20%. And what's the result of that little trap? Look at this number. Over $1.2 trillion in credit card debt in the US alone. This isn't some small side hustle for the banks. The interest they rake in from these carried over balances, that's the main engine that powers their entire consumer credit business. It's huge. Oh, and by the way, even if you're super disciplined, you pay off your balance in full every single month, the house still has a way to get paid. Annual fees. A lot of those premium rewards cards just charge you every year for the privilege of keeping them in your wallet. But here's the thing. Interest and fees, that's only one part of the story. There is a massive, invisible machine humming along in the background every single time you swipe that card, connecting you, the store, and the banks all in just a few seconds. So basically, the entire credit card world runs on one of two different models. First, you've got what's called open loop. Think of the big guys, Visa and MasterCard. They're not banks themselves. They're like these giant neutral platforms connecting thousands of different banks to millions of stores. Then you've got the closed loop model. This is American Express or Discover. They do everything. They're the bank, they're the network, they're the processor. It's all one self-contained system. So let's follow a single swipe through one of those open loop systems. When you go to pay for something, a little data request zips from the store through the network, let's say Visa, all the way to your bank. Your bank checks if you've got the credit, and if you do, it pings back an OK. Then Visa orchestrates moving the money. It's this incredible four-party dance between you, the merchant, your bank, and the network, and it happens faster than you can blink. So what's the fuel for this incredible machine? How does it all get paid for? Well, it all comes down to something called swipe fees, or sometimes you'll hear interchange fees. Every single time you use your card, the store has to pay a small percentage of that transaction back to the banks and the network. And trust me, those small percentages add up. We are talking about over $110 billion a year that U.S. merchants are paying. For a lot of small businesses, these fees are their second biggest expense right after payroll. And where do you think that cost goes? It gets baked right into the prices of everything we buy. So in a way, everyone, even people paying with cash, is helping to pay for the credit card reward system. Okay, so with all this money flying around and all this risk, how does the system decide who even gets to play? Who gets a card and what kind of limit they get? Well, it all boils down to one single, incredibly powerful number. I want you to think of your credit score like it's your financial passport. It's this 3-digit number that basically tells lenders how trustworthy you are. And it's not just about getting a credit card or a loan. This number can affect whether you can rent an apartment, how much you pay for insurance. Heck, sometimes it can even affect your ability to get a job. So what actually goes into this super important number? If we look at the FICO model, it's actually pretty clear. A full 35% of your score, the biggest piece of the pie, is just your payment history. Do you pay your bills on time? That's it. But look what's right behind it, how much money you owe. Together, those two things make up 65% of your entire score. It's huge. So let's step back for a second. We've got these clever traps, these invisible networks, these really complex scoring systems. It's this massive, intricate machine. And yet, for you and me, the end user, it's just a simple, satisfying swipe. And this idea, hiding enormous complexity behind a super simple interface, that's not just a finance thing, it's pretty much the defining pattern of our entire modern digital world. Okay, let's look at a totally different example, a modern app building platform. Someone who's new to it sees all these beautiful free templates, and they think, oh, cool, the template is the product. This is my starting point. And from their perspective, building an app feels ridiculously easy. You pick a design, you tweak it a little, you type a simple command to add a login page or payments, and then you just click publish. Done. But what's happening in the background? The platform is automatically spinning up servers, setting up databases, integrating payment gateways, deploying code. All the really hard, complicated stuff is completely hidden from view. A simple action on the front end triggering a massive, complex system on the back end. Sound familiar? It's the exact same pattern. One click publishes an app. One swipe activates a global financial network. In both cases, the real product isn't the complex machinery itself. The product is the feeling of simplicity. All right, so now that we've kind of ripped open the machine and looked at all the gears, from the traps to the tech, the real question is, how do you make this system work for you and not just for the bank? So, how do you beat the game? Well, the rules are actually pretty simple, and they're all about sidestepping the system's traps. Rule number 1, always pay your balance in full every month. If you do that, the minimum payment trap doesn't matter, and those 20% interest rates become totally irrelevant to you. Rule 2, only use your card for things you were going to buy anyway. Don't let it become an excuse to overspend. Basically, you get to enjoy all the rewards and the fraud protection, and all the bank gets is that little swipe fee from the merchant. You win. At the end of the day, a credit card is a seriously powerful tool. It's been designed from the ground up to have this really simple, appealing surface that hides a deeply complex engine underneath. And understanding that hidden system, that's not just some interesting fact. It is the key to turning a system that's designed to make money from you into a system that actually works for you.